Oh my god, hey, welcome back to my theatre-themed YouTube channel, or hello to you if you are listening on podcast platforms. My name is Mickey Joe. I am obsessed with all things theatre, as is the special guest joining me today, my stagey fiancé, Aaron James.
Hello.
Hello to you. We are here together today for what reason, Aaron?
We are going to go... So today we're going to go through our theatre resolutions of 2025. These are things that we want to work on this year. Doesn't mean we have to complete it by this year, but these are our hopeful things that we will achieve in the year.
Yeah, things we want to do a little bit more of. I mean, you'll find out. We have each written down 6 theatrical themed resolutions on pieces of paper, and then we put them into Elphaba's hat, courtesy of the Noble Collection, because of course we did. And we're going to take turns taking out one of our own, reading them out, and then talking through them. Maybe we'll have written the same thing.
Yeah, because I feel like some of these we've both spoken about. About saying resolution for the year.
We're pretty aligned on our theatre going, which is handy because we go with each other all the time, which is useful. My thoughts are with you, the couples where one of you wants to go to the theatre all the time and the other one doesn't as much.
Yeah, luckily we're both quite stagey.
Yeah. Maybe the deal is if we've both written down the same thing, we have to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
I can do that.
I'll go first. Let me take out one of mine.
Are you looking for yours, or are you just going to pick one out?
I'm looking for mine.
Okay.
I want to have mine in a random order to me, so it's like a surprise from writing them 1 minute ago.
I was going to say either one of us picks it out and we say it, and then if it's the other person's, they go, okay, so let me explain.
Oh, okay. We can do that, but I've already got this one, so
Yeah,
I'll start
okay.
with this one. Fine. This is one of mine. I can tell because of the colour of the Sharpie. I have written this. It says, book that last show. I've mentioned to you already what this means.
Yes.
But this, I think it's basically inspired by Next to Normal this year, where we loved the show.
Last year.
It's 2025, thank you. We loved the show, and we knew we loved the show, and then this has happened to us a few times. Closing week rolls around, we're like, oh, wouldn't it be great to be at that last show? And obviously by that point,
It's already sold out, or it's really expensive.
it's completely sold out, or there's like one ticket left and it's £200, and we're scrambling. We're like, obviously, like, we're not going to be able to get rush on the last day because everyone's going to want it. And so book that last show. This is, if you fall in love with a show, if you know you're going to want to be at closing, or even if you have an inkling, like, try and think ahead and think, I'm probably going to want to be at that closing show, especially for those limited runs.
It's good for making sure you don't double book it as well.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh no, I actually am now doing something else on that day, but it's going to close.
Yeah.
So you know you've marked it in your calendar, even if you don't buy the ticket straight away. When you book a show, if you know it's a limited run, like, mark it in your calendar and then think, right, I'll see it the first time, then if I love it, book the end, know that you're going.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about it. And you'll know you'll get good seats, because I think sometimes if you don't book it straight away, you'll end up wanting tickets to the last show and end up with seats that you're not going to enjoy.
If you get seats at all, because they get booked up, because chances are if you love something, other people
do.
Probably do as well. This also goes for first previews. Like, I'm glad that we ended up at the Hadestown first preview last year, back in February.
And I'm glad we were at the Titanic first one as well.
Yeah, but it was touch and go with Hadestown because we weren't going to, and then I impulse bought some very expensive tickets. So yeah, when there's exciting shows coming over, maybe Shucked is this year's.
Yeah, and even with new casts, I think sometimes when a show replacement cast, if you are really excited about them and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what are they going to be like? Sure, you can wait and you'll want to let them bed into the show, but also, are you then going to spend ages after they first go into it being like, oh, I want to find out what it's like, and you'll be looking for things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm thinking, if you're that excited about it, book those tickets to see that first performance, and then you'll get those endorphins, and then you can go back to it. Like, I love the phrase, treat yourself.
Yeah.
Something you're really excited about, and then you wait or dither, you're only actually giving yourself, like, sadness rather than happiness.
There you go. Theatre for happiness.
Yeah.
Book that last show if you think you're going to want to see that last show. Aaron James, reach into the hat.
Now, I've just thought I said this thing, but then what about if it's all your... I can see one of mine. So that
I was trying to do Vickers. That was Sweeney Todd, wasn't it?
That was Sweeney Todd.
Anything goes.
Okay. So I've gone with one of mine. So This is to use Mezzanine throughout the year, and
Ooh.
this is a very much a me thing and not a Mickey thing, because I'm an iPhone person, he is an Android person.
I'm thinking of getting a new phone because mine is truly, the battery health is not what it was. And fair play to Samsung, who have offered to replace the battery.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking just incidentally to use that to get a new phone anyway, but I might go to a Google Pixel.
Yeah.
I'm really reluctant to go to an iPhone because I'm secretly a bit of a technophobe and I don't know how to use them. I don't know how to use them.
If you didn't know about Mezzanine, it's an app that is on iOS devices, and you basically can track all the shows that you see, you can connect with people, you can see your friends' kind of diaries for shows. But I've been using it and recently backlogged all my shows.
Which took you a while.
Yeah, but what's really good is it means that you get the poster, the playbill photo for the show. It will show you an overview of how many percentage-wise of Broadway theatres you've been to, West End theatres. There's a map of all. If you a globetrotter to see theatre like we are, it's really cool because it'll create a map of all the theatres that you've been to. It's really fun for anybody that's like analytically geeky about theatre. If you're a spreadsheet person, this is like ultimately for you. But this is to get me to stay doing it through the year, because I feel like around this period of time you can get really into something like that over the Christmas festive period, and then once the year starts you're like, yes, first week all sorted, and then the week after, and then like a month later you go, oh wait, I haven't been tracking it. So now, like the evening after I've watched the show, the morning after, add it into Mezzanine. You can do more. You can track the seats that you sat in.
Wow.
You can review on there. You can do all these things. But yeah, I just want to keep at it because I'm really enjoying it. And if you want to find me on Mezzanine, it's just my name. But some of our friends are on there, like Kate and Ashley.
A lot of content creator friends.
So yeah, that's kind of one of my things, is just to get into that and to also backtrack and do further past things, because I want the data to be accurate.
Yeah. Have you been doing it for the first few shows of the year so far? How much has this so far?
I've seen 3. You've seen
3.
4.
I've seen 4. Okay. Should I tell my funny Mezzanine story?
Yes.
In hopes that maybe we get an answer. So we were stood outside of some off-Broadway theatre on like...
It was the one where Islander played.
That's really incidental to the story, but we were stood with a handful of friends and they were talking about Mezzanine.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of tuned out of the conversation because I can't use it because it's only on iOS. And they were talking about there being a leaderboard, and someone said, Mickey Joe, obviously you're really high up the leaderboard. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And they were like, you're really high up the Mezzanine leaderboard. And I was like, I don't have it. And there was a Mickey Joe Theatre Mezzanine account that had accurately tracked the shows I had seen on the dates. Now, these are not the dates my reviews are published, because my reviews almost always are subsequently, either the day after or a week after or a month after. But they've been using, I guess, my Instagram stories when I tend to post it. And they've even got like festival, like fringe shows on there.
And the reviews, like they'd put the reviews that you've put online.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they've attached the star ratings as well. They've been really...
it's really intricate.
Yeah, really dedicated in maintaining that. But I was like, this is not me. It's not inaccurate, but it is not me. So still have no idea. I think they stopped at a certain point. I think they got bored with me.
I mean, what's funny is we have an iPhone that you could use to try Mezzanine.
And yet I won't.
I know, it's the thing. So if you want the closest to accurate of what we both have seen, check out mine.
Head to Aaron. I'm going to take another one from the thing. This is one of yours. I'm going to open it. I'm going to show it. This says, to visit or tick off another Broadway theatre. There you go. Talk us through this.
So we are getting really close to having been to every single Broadway theatre.
We are.
We are like under 10.
I think it was probably about 5 or 6 away.
It is really close.
Yeah.
So this year I've just been like, even if it's just one more, because I think our issue is now we're getting to the point where the only theatres we have left have long runners in.
Yeah.
And that becomes difficult when we're flying over, because we're normally trying to see the season. So it means that those theatres we've just kind of been like, one day we'll go there, but it's not the main priority for us. So this year I'm just kind of like, even if it's just one of them, to get a little bit closer to having been to all of them would be really cool.
Yeah, and I think we will. We've been doing well on recent trips to be ticking off. We did the Lyceum just recently with O'Mary.
And Broadhurst.
Did the Broadhurst.
The Marquee.
Yes.
We did quite a lot in our last trip. And with Gypsy on at the Majestic, it's kind of easier for us to see one because that's a new show that we really want to see and would then tick off another new theatre.
Yeah, for the sake of the full list then, which are the ones which are outstanding? We were lucky, we haven't seen The Lion King on Broadway, but we saw Ragtime in concert at the Minskoff.
So we've been there and we've seen a performance there.
If you were to ask me, the Minskoff is a theatre where every time you go into it, you see the original Broadway cast of Ragtime, because in 100% of my experiences, that's what's happened. So that's what's playing at the Minskoff as far as I'm concerned.
So we haven't been to the Lyric, the Richard Rogers,
oh yeah,
the Eugene O'Neill,
Neil Simon.
the Neil Simon.
Is that it? And the Majestic, because we've been to the Palace as well after they
So we're looking
at like Kinky Boots and raised it up.
Yeah, so it's only a handful left.
Yeah. I do think the Majestic out of those is the most likely.
Yeah, because unless there's some big reason to go to one of the others, or something happens, it's just not.
Or unless shock horror, one of them closes on board and something
then we
else.
might rush there, or we might rush there to see it, to tick it off. I think the one that's of the long runners that kind of feels like an inkling to see would be to see Hamilton at the.
I was going to say I would see Hamilton at the Richard Rogers.
Yeah, I think that's probably the highest above the long runners, where I feel like there's a reason to go and see it over there, because even though we have it, it's always that thing that if the West End also has it, there's even less.
We had Hamilton at home.
Exactly, but the idea of seeing the show at its home whilst it's still there is it's fun.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, there you go. To visit and tick off one other Broadway theatre this year.
Okay,
Your
my
turn.
turn.
Take it from the hat.
Let's go here. Oh, it's one of yours.
It's one of mine.
So I'm intrigued because this is quite. It doesn't have much detail in it. It just says the RSC and the National.
So these are the two theatres in the UK that I think I, and by extension we, do the worst job at visiting.
Yes.
And just generally keeping in touch with. And it's not because... It's not because they're not doing great work. And it's not even because we're not interested in the work. It's just because we fall out of touch with them. And the RSC, there's been multiple times where I've been booked into an RSC press night last year and had to try and move it around. I had to cancel because of other things, and I feel so bad because I like going to the RSC. It represents a little bit of a travel challenge.
Yes.
Relative to a lot of it. Like, it's a lot easier for us to go into London and see a West End show and then get back the same night rather than something at the RSC. But it's not impossible.
No.
It just needs a little bit more planning. And we go to Edinburgh and we go to New York, so getting to Stratford-upon-Avon is not the hardest thing in the world, and truly getting there is not the challenge, but it's
normally getting back. It's always after a show. How easy is it to get a journey back? Yeah.
But also just kind of being more. Both of these organizations are doing a lot of, I think, really good outreach with new audiences and with new media and with young audiences, and I want to be more participatory in that, rather than just feeling like I'm shouting about these very commercial West End productions. I want to be more actively sort of in association with those venues. And I've done a couple things in association with the National in the last year, but missed most of their programming.
Yeah.
Just because, just not really keeping on top of it. So that's a big goal for this year, is to see more shows and to work more closely with the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford-upon-Avon and the National Theatre. And I think it will happen.
Yeah, and I think that kind of opens up to something I didn't write, but I feel like links to that is the plays. Because I feel like we're better at seeing plays on Broadway than we are over here.
Probably, yeah.
Where over here it feels like we have a lot more plays happening.
Yes.
Just in general.
Yes.
Even in London, there are so many more plays happening. They go very quickly, and with our travelling, you can't factor it in, or they just kind of get lost in the fray. Whereas when we're on Broadway, we're like filling things in a schedule.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because we don't know where people will be excited to learn about plays, because it's very hard to find a strength for the play audience online.
Yeah.
But it's something that when people talk about it, we're always like, oh, we can't actually talk about the plays as much when you talk about the Olivier's.
Yeah.
Or we'll miss it on the first run, and it'll only be when it comes into the West End, but then it's seeing it. And like, you're also happy that you saw Giant before it.
Yes.
So there's many different shows like that. But it would be nice to be able to support more. How the timeline of the scheduling works.
Yeah, because just seeing more and more and more and more and more.
It's very tricky.
I want to see Edward II.
Yeah.
In the first few months of the year. I want to go and see Here We Are at the National.
You really want to see Nye?
I do want to, yeah. So that I think hopefully will get us back to those venues, and we'll keep going there more throughout the year. That is the plan. Is it your turn to... Did you take that one?
Turn.
Oh, it's my turn.
We did the opposites.
Cool. I've got another green one here.
Ah.
So let's talk about this. And there it is. I haven't read it yet. To visit at least 3 new-to-me UK theatres.
Yeah, so kind of goes off the RSC and the National in terms of feeling like it should be a priority from the start of the year. Is that last year we did actually probably go to multiple new theatres, at least definitely to me.
Do we want to talk through that and figure out if we both did? Because we went to... I'd never been to the Bristol Hippodrome.
Nor me.
So that was a new one. Are you thinking like regionally more?
Yeah, I'm thinking across the UK, London and across the UK. Because I've never been to the Arcola.
Oh.
So with Crybaby, it's kind of interesting as I'd like to see that there. So it's kind of become a priority. But last year we'd never been to Nottingham before.
Oh, yes.
So
Nottingham
that was a
Playhouse.
new
That
one
was a
to
new one
us.
for us, yeah.
We must have at least done 3 new ones.
But it's surprisingly hard
It's surprisingly hard to realise where was new.
to bring them to mind, yes.
But I guess technically the Battersea Arts Centre, but we weren't in an actual theatre space for that.
Over 13 going on 30?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh no, and Seven Dolls Playhouse. I'd never been there before.
Oh, okay.
So that was another new one for me.
Yeah. I might have just about visited 3 new theatres and one of them is evading me, but specifically regionally, you're right. I think we're certainly not visiting them at much of a pace.
Yeah, I kind of just wanted to make it a goal was to, when things are happening, to visit them or just to think about that when we're doing things. Because I really liked when we went to Nottingham and we could highlight highlighting different cities. And I feel like we talk often about the West End and London and then New York and different places, but actually of the UK, we talk about Edinburgh a lot when we go there for the Fringe, and we'll talk about our hometowns fondly. But it'd be nice to kind of showcase a bit more of what UK theatre is like, where things happen.
Yeah. Are there any specific theatres in the UK you would love to visit this year? Because I've never been to the old Joint Stock. I've never seen anything there. I've visited the building. You took me there. But I've never seen a show in there. And with them doing the non-replica production, the first British regional production of Be More Chill, that's probably a great excuse to go and visit the old Joint Stock.
Well, I guess one of them was the Arcola.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with the Arcola,
Yeah.
but I've never been there. So that was kind of one of those, finally tick that off moment. Can I think of anywhere else?
I mean, you've said to me before there are entire parts of the UK where neither of us have seen theatre, where you would like to.
Yeah, I think there's loads of cities where I've written about them or spoken about them or we know productions are happening there. But it feels like, oh, actually, I don't know. So I feel weird talking about. And I'd like to just make sure that I'm learning about things properly. And
I have a couple bucket list British theatres because I've been to...
I've got one.
Yes?
But I just don't know what's going to be programmed there.
Sure.
It's the Minac.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah,
but I'd forgotten the name. I was going to be like edge of a cliff face. Cornwall, help me. Yes.
Because the Minac and Theatre Royal Plymouth, actually, because they did so much this year and I've never been there. But the Minac's kind of one of those, it's one of the most like natural beauty, special places that we have. And I'm like, I've actually never been there. So I can't like profess like that, oh my gosh, this is so special.
Yeah.
Because I know it is from everyone and I can see this it is.
It's incredible and the story is incredible.
Yeah.
And I've been there on a tour, which I also thoroughly recommend. And it was lovely. And I've got great photos from it, but I've never seen a piece of theatre there. Do you know what? Someone emailed me the other day. I hope they don't mind me saying they're directing one of the various Amdram, Les Mis,
Oh,
but they're doing one there.
Oh, that would be very special.
At the minute, yeah, if you don't know, Les Mis is doing this big community project this year.
Especially with the start of it.
Yes.
The start of the
yeah.
musical, because it is linked to the water.
Yeah. Yeah, I think someone was saying in my comments the other day they'd seen The Tempest there, which obviously
Yeah.
makes a ton of sense. I'd love to see something like A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum there. I think one year we were on a holiday nearby and they were doing Spamalot. Well, they'd done Spamalot the week before and we thought, wouldn't that have been brilliant to see there? But, I mean, really anything, just the majesty of that setting is so breathtaking. That's a great one. Is it Theatre by the Lake as well?
Yes, in Keswick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one I've always wanted to see.
I've been outside that theatre a lot of times, but I've never been in it to see anything.
Yeah. I've never done Edinburgh Playhouse, which you had.
I'd like to do the other main Edinburgh theatres, though, because I love the Edinburgh Playhouse so much, and I've been there many times, but there's the other big, like, touring venues there, which I've never experienced. And I know also, like, Glasgow is a big place for theatre, and it's a place I've never even been to before.
Oh, the Lyceum in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing some fun things this year. My weird flex is I have been to Theatre Royal Plymouth. I've been to both of the theatres in Plymouth. Possibly there's more, but I've been to Plymouth Barbican as well. And that's surprising, really, because I don't think I've spent a lot of time in Plymouth, but every time I've been there, I've been to the theatre. Who's shocked? I was that young person on a family holiday that was like, there is a theatre nearby. What if we drove for an hour to go see Blood Brothers at the Hall for Cornwall in Truro? And me and my dad did in the middle of a family holiday.
And there's other theatres like Norwich, for example, where they're doing a lot of work for new musical theatre. And
Wales Millennium Centre is another one of mine. And I think I'm pronouncing this correctly, the Boardgas Energy Theatre in Dublin. I think those are both, would love to see those. Good one. Yeah. Good resolution for this year. I think it's your turn.
It's my turn.
Next.
I feel like I'm just going to, I feel like I'm going to keep to just saying yours. Cause
we've fallen into a pattern here.
Yeah. So this is do the homework.
Okay. This is quite specific to me.
Yeah.
But people can take from this how they choose to, because obviously the way that I approach a piece of theatre through a critical lens is a little bit different than if I was just going to have a great time.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people do this as well, even if they're not critics recreationally or professionally, because a lot of people in my comments come up with these very discerning takes on theatre. A lot of our friends who go and see that, like, people form opinions about stuff. And last year, on several occasions, I had really mixed feelings about, should I, before I see this show, acquaint myself with the material or with the source material? And on a couple of occasions, I regretted not having done so.
Here we are.
Here we are is a big one.
Yeah.
But I'm so torn on it because I think at the same time it's an adaptation. And so for me to understand it as a critic, I can't really do that without considering the source material. And I'd have to talk about, in my review, how well they have adapted the source material. Now, I wasn't actually reviewing that show, so I let myself a little off the hook. But at the same time, I think if you're charging an entire ticket price for an entire product, it should stand entirely on its own, and it shouldn't require homework. I'm kind of a big proponent of the idea that theatre ought not to come with homework.
This kind of brings up the point of The Outsiders, I think, for both of us.
Oh, yeah.
Where we've noticed that people who have a history with the novel feel very differently about that musical compared to people that don't have any association with it because of how they view it, how accurately, and bringing the energy of the novel to the stage.
And the nostalgia of it as well.
The nostalgia. But then if you don't have any of that pre-watching it,
you're right,
you can feel a lot more detached like we did.
Yeah.
And it's interesting for me talking to people to know the difference of that with a musical, because I don't know if I'd specifically seen that before. We've all thought about it, where perhaps there's UK musicals that have a very British history, so we feel a certain way, but then when you're talking to people that don't have any connection to it, they can view it on a lot less sentimentality.
Yeah, I wonder about Blood Brothers for that kind of a reason, as an example. I was thinking, on the other end of the tonal spectrum, I was recently thinking about Titanic and how well it plays to an audience who aren't familiar with the film. If indeed there are people left who haven't seen the Titanic.
Or the general culture, because there's a lot of references and points that you get if you're aware of, like, pop culture and things.
Yeah.
and moments, or they'll go over your head, but it's how much of that goes over your head that it becomes jokes that you feel involved with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wondered about when we recently saw it, what would it be like for somebody that's not as aware of pop culture?
Yeah, I thought about this. I thought about this with Death Becomes Her as well, because obviously based on a film, and I thought if I was to, and I haven't reviewed that yet, but we've seen it, we saw it in previews in New York on our last trip to Broadway, and I thought, I don't want to praise something and say, like, that's such great writing by the book writer, and come to find out that it's just a beloved line from the film. But then I also wanted to empower the show to stand by itself, and I think, money no object and time no object, the best thing to be able to do is to see something, then go away, look at the source material, and then revisit it. And hopefully that's what I'm going to do with Here We Are this year. And then I'll have the perfect perspective on how it stood independently and also how it works as an adaptation. But I'm not going to have the luxury of that second lap critically every single time.
Yeah.
So I feel I have a responsibility to do the homework. And that could be as big as watching the film it's based on, reading some of the book, or it can be as small as I've started a few plays recently, really valuing the director's notes in the program. I started to think actually that this should be vital reading for so many plays because it so shaped my understanding of what it was that they were trying to say. But then it's like, should the play be able to say that independently? I go back and forth on this a lot, but I've decided this year I'm going to really focus on doing the homework. So at some point, you and I are going to have a movie night where we watch the 2 Buñuel films that Here We Are, or I will. You don't have to be involved, but I'm planning to watch the 2 films that Here We Are is based upon. And yeah. Anyway, we have each read out 3 resolutions so far.
Yes.
We have.
3 each.
So that is part 1 of our 2025 theatre resolutions. And if you are watching this on YouTube for part 2, head over to Mr. Aaron James's YouTube channel, because we don't want to inundate you with too many of our thoughts over here. And we wanted to remind you all that Aaron is also creating theatrical content here on YouTube. So maybe there'll be a link in the description of this video. Maybe there'll be a link in the comments. Go and check out part 2 for 6 more 2025 theatre resolutions over on Aaron's channel.
Yeah.
And make sure to subscribe while you're there. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you're subscribed here if you're not already. And I hope that you're looking forward to 2025. Share with us your own theatre resolutions in the comments down below, as well as your thoughts about the ones that we've shared so far. And I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day.
For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!